What is up, YouTube? It's Dope, and this is Dope Comics, and today I thought I'd show you a little haul I picked up in the town of Florella, Alabama. Florella, Alabama is on the Florida-Alabama line. It's a small town, very, very small town. I go to Panama City Beach about 2 or 3 times a year. I got detoured. I had to go through this small town. It looked like Mayberry, very small. Population's got to be around 1,000. Not many people live there at all. They got one main street, I think one red light. And as I was driving through town looking for a coffee shop, I see this building. It's like a junk store, looks abandoned, and on the window with soap it had wrote comics. So of course I'm going to stop in there. I stopped in there, and I was pretty pleased with what I found. Usually 9 out of 10 times it don't ever work out. It's 90s junk, it's Valiant, Dark Horse, Spawn. But this time it worked out a little bit. I walked in the shop and I found some pretty cool old Hulk books. So let me get to the haul and tell me what you think. So for $5 a piece, I picked up these Hulk books. And I took every one they had for $5. So first we got Tales of the Astonish, 60. And I think this is dated 1964 of October. And there's a cool Hulk. And Giant Man. It's in pretty good shape. Cool colors. I love the way Hulk's drawn here. But this is Tales to Astonish 60 from 1964. And I bought all he had for $5. So I got 13 Tales to Astonish for $65. So can't beat that. Here's the second one I picked up, number 62. And he thought I was crazy buying all these for $5 a piece. I asked him if he had any more in the back. I plan on going back to Florella to see if he's got anything new. Here, I really like this cover. This is number 75. This is 77. And I'm mainly a horror guy. I don't get into a lot of superhero stuff. But to me, Hulk's almost horror. I mean, a man that turns into a monster and can't be controlled. It goes back to Jekyll and Hyde and a lot of the old... I got some witches' tales that talks about people transforming into monsters. And there's lots of different versions of Hulk out there. This is 81. There's lots of different versions of Hulk out there. But the one I like is the suicidal David Banner that wants to kill himself because he's afraid of what Hulk might do to the public. He can't control his rage. He can't control Hulk. And that's the version I like. This is 83. I'm not into the 90s and 80s Hulk that walks around in a trench coat and has a girlfriend and carries a gun and talks. I'm not into all that. I want the monster. I want the guy that just smashes everything. This is 85. I want the suicidal David Banner that tries to kill himself. And every time he goes to kill himself, he gets too much adrenaline and turns into the Hulk and he can't die. This is a cool cover. This one's 87. And all these books are in really good shape. He had multiple copies of some, and I was able to get the best copies of everything he had. But they were all $5. Just take what you want. And he was mainly just a junk store. He had other comics, but they were all 90s. And he had mugs. And he had diabetic socks. And he had flags and a bunch of junk. This is a cool cover too. This one is 91. Pretty cool. Here's 95. And here's the last one I picked up from Tales to Astonish, number 100. And like I said, these are early Hulks. You know, the original Hulk went 1 through 6. And so after that, Hulk didn't reappear at 102. So any of these fell in between there. Any of these old 12-cent Hulks you can find, pick them up. So that's the end of the Florella collection. But I thought, while I was at it, I might as well grab a couple more cool covers because I don't show Hulk on here much. So if I'm going to show Hulk, I might as well show Hulk. Because you probably won't see him again on this channel. Because I'm not interested in really buying any big Hulk. But I pulled a couple of these king size. I really like this cover. And you can get these for hardly anything. But I really like Hulk. I like the king size books. Here's a cool one. Now this one cost you a little bit. It's went up. This is the second appearance of Groot. There's Groot. But the reason I bought this is because I'm a villain guy, and this had a bunch of monsters on the cover. We got Groot. We got Titan. We got Blimp. Grom. Taboo. And Diablo. So, I thought that was a cool cover. I like floating head covers too, so. I like that one a lot. Here is a king size number 8. Hulk getting smashed by a Sasquatch, but it don't look like it's going to work out too good for Sasquatch. So, then I pulled a couple of, here's a few 15 centers I picked up lately. And here is issue 200. It's got a bunch of floating heads on it and stuff I like, so. Issue 200 looks pretty cool. Decided to pick that baby up. The only thing matter with it, somebody's pen didn't work, so they had to grab a damn comic book to get their pen to write. Motherfucker, let's get that pen to write. I gotta sign this check for Winn-Dixie. They used their kid's comic book to mark on their, get their pen to write, because they had to go to Winn-Dixie and get the groceries. Here is a book I really like. There's a character I really like, Wendigo. If Marvel would use him right and do a horror movie, Wendigo is the shit. I like Wendigo a lot. Wendigo is a demon that lives in Canada. And if you eat Wendigo meat, you become a Wendigo. So I thought that was neat. It's almost like zombies. A whole town becomes Wendigos in one book I read. 235 Machine Man. Whoa, pow. Machine Man didn't last long. But I like that cover anyway. I mean, would that even be a fair fight? I mean, that'd be ridiculous. And this is probably my second favorite Hulk book of all time. It's my favorite Hulk cover of all time. Nobody ever really talks about it. But I guess it's a classic because they did come out with a reprint of it a few years ago. I love this. This is Hulk 272. This has got a great Wendigo story in it about Canada and about some hunters being trapped in a log cabin. And Wendigo, I won't tell you what happens, but Wendigo, it's quite the horror story. So, Wendigo takes care of him. Cool book, 272, my favorite Hulk book. When we were locked up for COVID 2020, this is one of the stories I went back and read a few times. I like to reread it every couple years. If you ever get a chance, you can get this for some peanuts. Pick up 272 and read it. It's probably my second favorite Hulk story. And I'll get to my favorite Hulk story here in a minute. And I thought I'd pull one of these. This is these things came out from 78 to 81. There is, I think, 18. They start with number 10, so they don't start with number 1. They start at number 10, issue 10. The Hulk magazines. And this is 26. It's my favorite cover of all the Hulk magazines. Big Bad Hulk. So, some of these covers in this suck in this series. You know, but this is a good one, I think. The Hulk magazine. So that is cool. And I'm going, story time! Story time! So a few years ago, I quit collecting comics. And a few years ago, when I was a teenager, I quit collecting comics. And a few years ago, I was really looking for something new to do. I was working from home. I never really got to talk to adults much. My wife worked 10, 12 hours a day at her job. I was working from home, didn't really see a lot of people, and I was trying to find some kind of new hobby to do, and nothing was really making me happy. And I don't know how many lines a Walmart has, but I think there's probably at least 20 lines to check out. One day I was getting groceries, and there's always only one line that has football, baseball cards, comic books, all that kind of stuff. So my chances that day was 1 in probably 20 of getting in the right line. Somehow I get in the right line. I look down, and I see this book. And this is the first book that started it all again. This is a Peter David book. My favorite book I ever had as a kid, collecting my first go-round, was Hulk 377. It's I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's like a lime green cover and Hulk's all busting out of it. This, for some reason, reminded me of that, and it brought back a little joy in my life. So I decided to just grab this when I was in the checkout line. And when I read this, it made me think a lot. It gave me purpose to sit around and gave my mind something to think about. And this is my favorite Hulk story. It's called Last Call, Peter David. It's awesome. It's a story about Bruce Banner. He calls a suicide prevention line, and he's trying to get somebody to talk him out of killing himself because he is the Hulk and he wants to die. And it's dark. It's a one-shot. I got this at Walmart. If you ever get a chance to read this, it's him talking to a lady on the phone, wanting to die because he don't want to be Hulk no more. And it's really dark, and it's right up my alley with all this kind of shit. So this is the Hulk I like. This ain't your cheesy Hulk. This ain't your scientist Hulk. This ain't your trench coat Hulk. This ain't your machine gun shooting Hulk. This is the good Hulk. It's a one-shot. You can find them cheap online. If you ever want something good to read, Peter David. It's really dark. It's really cool. And this is the very first book I rebought. And ever since I bought this book, I went down the rabbit hole. And I've bought thousands of comics since. But this is the one that rekindled my fire. I'll never get rid of it. All this is because of this book. And the last book I want to show is a book that I think is underrated. Really good story. Came out last year or 2 years ago. I've read it a couple of times. Really like this book. The Threshing Place. It's another good story. These are probably my favorite 2 stories of Hulk ever. This is the kind of Hulk I like. It's dark. It's a monster. This is horror. Straight up horror. So I like these 2 books. If you ain't read this, you can find it cheap. I think it's horror. It's got monsters in it. It's got a chemical plant in it. Good stuff. So these are the 2 if you want to find anything cheap to read that's good. Pick these up. And that is all of my Hulk comic haul for today. If you like what you see, smash the like button. Subscribe. I think I got 98 subscribers. Close to 100. 100 is my goal. If I can get 100 followers that are just faithful and like to talk and crazy about weird comic books, I'm happy. I know there's not a lot of y'all out there. Most people like all the popular shit, and we don't do a lot of popular shit around here. But my passion is, horror, indies, all the skanky stuff nobody wants to talk about. So if I can find 100 people like that just to talk with and communicate with, it'd be great. So if you like what you see, just subscribe, join the family. Until next time.